Dear students, welcome to my channel Dr. V.R. PODILE, Professor of Management and Economics. In this video, I am dealing with different dividend policies in practice, including regular dividend policy, irregular dividend policy, stable dividend policy, no dividend policy, and residual dividend policy. Dividend policies in practice. Let us first deal with meaning of dividend policy. The dividend policy of a company is the strategy that the company follows to decide the amount of dividends and the timing of payments. There are various factors that frame the dividend policy of the company. Availability of better investment opportunities, estimated volatility of future earnings, tax considerations, financial flexibility, flotation costs, and various legal restrictions are factors that affect a company's dividend policy. In this slide, I had explained about different types of dividend policies. There are 5 types of dividend policies in practice. 1. Regular dividend policy. 2. Irregular dividend policy. 3. Stable dividend policy. 4. No dividend policy. And 5. Residual dividend policy. Stable dividend policy can be again divided into 4 subcategories. They are 1. Constant dividend per share policy. 2. Constant dividend payout ratio policy. 3. Constant dividend per share plus extra dividend policy. And 4. Dividend as fixed percentage of market value of the share policy. Let us now discuss with dividend policies in practice in detail. 1. Regular dividend policy. Under this type of dividend policy, the company follows the procedure to pay out a dividend to its shareholders every year. If the company earns abnormal profits, then it retains the extra profit. Whereas, if it remains in loss any year, then also it pays a dividend to its shareholders. This type of policy is adopted by the company who are having stable earnings and steady cash flow. In the eyes of the investors, a company paying regular dividends are low risk despite the fact the quantum of regular dividend might be small. Under this policy, the investors get dividends at a standard rate. 2. Irregular dividend policy. Under this type of dividend policy, company states that it has no obligation in respect of paying a dividend to the shareholders. The board of directors will decide the quantum and rate of dividend. Their action in respect to paying a dividend has nothing to do with the company's scenario of earning a profit or coming into the loss. It depends on the decision of the board of directors. The board might decide to distribute profit despite having low or no profit. It gains the confidence of investors and they will invest more in the company and the company's liquidity will increase in this case. On the other hand, the company might retain all or significant amounts of profit and distribute no or fewer dividends The company may do this to increase the growth of the company by using the retained earnings. Three, stable dividend policy. A business with stable dividend policy pays out a steady dividend every given period, regardless of the volatility in the market. The exact amount of dividends that are paid out depends on long-term earnings of the company. In the eyes of the investors, a company adopting stable dividend policy is risky. The reason being the amount of dividend fluctuates with the level of profit. Stable dividend policy may result in 4 subtypes of policies. I had explained different stable dividend policies in detail. 1. Constant dividend per share or constant dividend rate. As per this policy, the firms pay dividend as a percentage of paid up capital. This can be referred to as dividend per share. This kind of policy is followed by Indian companies, whereby companies pay a fixed rate on paid up capital as dividend every year. For example, the face value of XYZ Limited is rupees 10 and the dividend fixed is rupees 2. So, this amount has to be paid irrespective of fluctuations of earnings. This policy becomes a drawback for companies, especially if their earnings tend to fluctuate. The second type of stable dividend policy is constant dividend payout ratio policy. Payout ratio means ratio of dividends to earnings or profits. In the policy of constant payout, the firms tend to pay a fixed percentage of earnings to the shareholders. The dividend payments are dependent on the earnings pattern. If earnings of the firm increase, the dividends automatically increase and vice versa. The liquidity of the firms is not affected by the employing of this policy. The third type of stable dividend policy is constant dividend per share plus extra dividend. In this policy of dividend payment, the firms pay a constant dividend per share, and in times of prosperity, they pay extra dividend over the regular dividend to the shareholders. This policy is mostly followed by companies having fluctuating earnings. The approach is that a minimum amount of dividend is paid every year so as to keep up the momentum of stability. While in the times when earnings have spurted, an interim dividend is paid. This policy ensures flexibility as the company is not bound to pay large amount of regular dividends. The fourth type of stable dividend policy is paying dividend as fixed percentage of market value. As per this policy, dividends are paid as fixed percentage of market value of company shares rather than to its profits. The fourth type of dividend policy in practice is no dividend policy. Under this type of dividend policy, the company follows the procedure of paying no dividend to the shareholders irrespective of its profit or loss scenario. The payment ratio will be 0%. The total earnings will be retained by the company. These type of policies are adopted by the company, that is generally startup or company who have already established trust among the investors. For startups, it helps in expanding their business, which will result in the overall growth of the business. The shareholders invest in the companies following no dividend policy with the aim that their total value of an investment will increase with the growth of the company. For them, appreciation in share price is more important than the regular dividend. The fifth type of dividend policy in practice is residual dividend policy. Under the residual dividend policy, the company pays the dividends from the funds left after financing all the capital expenditures of the current period. This policy takes the company's investment opportunity schedule, target capital structure, and the cost of capital raised externally into consideration. Dear students, in this video, I had dealt with different dividend policies in practice. Thank you.